Lin Zichin addresses his rescued teammates, informing them that he can sense the masked man who controls the vines rapidly approaching them. He notes that since Instructor Liu is nowhere to be seen, the instructor must have been defeated. He explains to the group that the masked man's target is specifically him, so he plans to act as a decoy to draw the enemy's attention and give them a chance to escape. He strictly instructs them not to look back or worry about him, emphasizing that staying behind would only make them a burden. As Lin Zichin suddenly dashes off alone into the thick forest of vines, Shen Qinghan calls out after him, pleading for him to return safely. Lin Zichin shouts back his agreement as he speeds away from the group. A deeply worried Shen Qinghan stands next to Ma Weiwei and the others, clenching her hands to her chest. She thinks bitterly about her own weakness, realizing that at her current level, she is completely unable to help him in battle. She laments that her only option is to stay away so she doesn't drag him down, wishing desperately that she were stronger. Leaping through the massive roots and vines, Lin Zichin looks back and confirms that the masked man is indeed pursuing him, meaning Shen Qinghan and the rest of the team are finally safe. However, as he watches his pursuer, Lin Zichin senses something is off. The enemy's speed feels far too slow for a high-level Tier 6 expert. The man with the red-horned mask is fiercely leaping after him, but his clothes are heavily torn and his body is covered in bloody wounds from his previous battle. Lin Zichin carefully analyzes the masked man's current condition. He deduces that because the enemy is so severely injured, his actual combat power has dropped to around high-level Tier 4, making him only one tier stronger than Lin Zichin. Realizing this crucial drop in the enemy's strength, Lin Zichin formulates a bold plan, thinking that he can use this unexpected advantage to turn the tables and kill his pursuer. As Lin Zichin scales the massive roots, the man with the red-horned mask watches him from below, mocking him and assuming that his prey has finally exhausted himself and stopped running. Wasting no time, the masked man unleashes a barrage of sharp, dark vines, shooting them rapidly toward Lin Zichin. Lin Zichin swiftly evades the incoming attacks, and as he dodges, he analyzes the situation. He deduces that the vine's attack power is surprisingly low, leading him to realize that the masked man is holding back because he wants to capture him alive. Seeing an opportunity to exploit his enemy's intention, Lin Zichin decides to play along and intentionally allows one of the thick vines to strike him forcefully in the back. The impact sends Lin Zichin flying, and he crashes violently into a massive tree root structure, creating a large crater. Slumped against the roots, Lin Zichin activates his natural camouflage to hide his true condition while appearing completely defeated. The masked man approaches his fallen prey, cursing him but acknowledging how fast he ran. He assumes Lin Zichin must have used some newly developed military stimulant to achieve a speed that far exceeded his biological level. Standing over Lin Zichin, the masked man angrily brings up the woman with the spiked mask that Lin Zichin had defeated earlier. He reveals that she was just one step away from evolving into a high-level creature and served as his personal servant. He expresses his fury that Lin Zichin killed her after he had spent 5 long years training her, still believing Lin Zichin only won because of a stimulant. Playing the part of a battered victim with his eyes closed, Lin Zichin internally pieces the information together, realizing the woman the masked man is referring to was the peak ordinary Tier 9 branch leader of the cult. The masked man's thoughts then turn to Shen Qinghan. He remarks that the blue-haired girl who was with Lin Zichin is incredibly beautiful, even more so than movie stars. With a sinister smile, he declares his dark intention to capture her and force her to be his new servant once he has recovered from his own injuries. Smirking confidently, the masked man reaches his large hand out to grab Lin Zichin, stating that for now, he will just take him back to complete his mission. However, seeing his powerful enemy completely off guard and within striking distance, Lin Zichin secretly prepares to make his move, knowing the perfect moment to execute his counterattack has finally arrived. Just as the masked man reaches out, Lin Zichin's eyes suddenly snap wide open. Seizing the perfect opportunity, Lin Zichin springs into action and delivers a ruthless, devastating punch directly to the masked man's groin. The masked man's eyes bulge with bloodshot agony behind his disguise, and he cries out in excruciating pain from the unexpected low blow. As the injured villain stumbles backward, realizing with horror that his prey was faking his defeat the entire time, Lin Zichin calmly stands back up, completely unfazed. Wasting no time, Lin Zichin lunges forward and winds up his fist for another heavy attack, while the panicked masked man desperately tries to raise his guard to cover himself. However, Lin Zichin swiftly changes his angle and delivers a brutal upward kick, striking the masked man in the groin yet again and causing him to scream out in absolute agony as blood flies. The masked man is left in utter shock, desperately wondering how Lin Zichin can still unleash such immense strength and theorizing that the effects of his supposed military stimulant must still be active. Taking full advantage of his opponent's weakened state, Zichin unleashes a relentless high-speed barrage of punches. The masked man tries to brace himself against the storm of fists, hoping that if he can just survive this wave of attacks, Zichin will eventually exhaust himself and weaken. However, the villain quickly realizes with mounting terror that Zichin's power is not fading at all. In fact, the force behind his Kui and blood is actually growing stronger with every single strike. Bleeding heavily from his mouth, the masked man screams in disbelief, demanding to know how a mere 20-year-old at the ordinary biological level can continuously fight with the devastating power of a high-level Tier 4 expert. Ignoring his enemy's frantic questions, Zichin lands a crushing punch directly on the masked man's face. Completely overwhelmed and pushed to the brink of death, the villain desperately cries out for the Ninth Elder to save him. Seeing that the masked man is finally at his breaking point, Zichin focuses his power, concentrating a massive amount of swirling energy into his fist for a final, decisive strike. With explosive force, Zichin unleashes the charged punch, launching the masked man helplessly into the air. The villain crashes violently back down onto the hard ground, the sheer force of the impact completely shattering his red-horned mask into pieces. The masked man lies helplessly on the ground, his face bruised and bloody. Zichin stands over his defeated opponent and relentlessly unleashes a rapid chain of brutal punches directly into the man's face, deciding to finish him off and send him to the afterlife to reunite with his fallen subordinate. A system notification then appears, asking if he wishes to devour the enemy's essence. Panting heavily and looking at his own bruised, bloody knuckles, an exhausted Zichin breathes a sigh of relief, glad that the grueling battle is finally over and his enemy is dead. He activates the system's devour function, extending his hand to absorb the glowing blue life essence flowing from the corpse. The system confirms that he has unlocked 2 new codexes, granting him new attributes that allow him to control nearby plants using his mind and significantly boost his own mental strength. Looking down at the lifeless body, Zichin realizes that his opponent's powers were entirely focused on mental energy. He concludes that the man was essentially a mage with a fragile physical body, which explains exactly how Zichin was able to exploit that weakness and kill someone at a much higher biological level. Suddenly, the sound of slow clapping breaks the silence, and a surprised Zichin turns his head in shock as an unfamiliar voice praises his incredible feat of defeating a high-level Tier 6 expert while only being at the ordinary Tier 9 level. Looking up, Zichin spots the man in the Plague Doctor mask standing high above on a thick vine. The imposing figure remarks that their elaborate scheme was completely worth it to find a genius like him, leaving Zichin to nervously wonder if this newcomer is the mysterious Ninth Elder the masked man had desperately called out for moments ago.